Kia ora e te whānau. First up, want to just do a quick karakia to recognise you all. It's one of my favourite ones. So kia hora te marino kia whakapapa po namu te moana. He huarahi mā tātou i te rangi nei. Araha atu, araha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa. Hui tai ie. And kia ora. And wonderful to have you here. And this is the first session, the precursor to the main event. But JC, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to set a bit of context and then we're going to sort of see, we're all about learning and growth and stuff like that. So I'd like to acknowledge each and every one of you for being here, being curious and throwing yourself out there and looking potentially how we look at the world in a different way, in a different frame, starting with games. So kia ora and thank you. We couldn't do this without the support of some amazing supporters. JC, obviously, in terms of the work that he's doing, but also the MOE, Ministry of Education, has been a significant supporter. Pakaraka Permaculture and NEVA's organisation, Method, and Sam, and your support through this is awesome. Games for Change and Tech Futures Lab, Balancing Monkeys, and obviously me in terms of doing some of the talking. So kia ora and thank you to all of them. And over to you, Jesse. Jesse is just a bit way of introduction. Jesse's an award-winning filmmaker as well, emerging technology specialist in film, motion capture, AR, VR, mixed reality, animation and game development. He's the founder of Virtual Production Dojo, and this is a unique demonstration around the showcasing of the workflows employed by top-end agencies, etc. And hopefully you'll get a lot about this, about realistic digital humans in games. So big round of applause, paki paki for Jesse.
Sat Sri Akal, kia ora, and hi everyone. My name is Jesse Segal. I am the founder and creative director at Virtual Production Dojo, which happens to be New Zealand's first industry-specific training academy for emerging technologies in virtual production and gamification. This is the software called Real Illusion Character Creator 3, and this is the default project when we start the software. So what we're seeing here is a humanoid character, a female humanoid character. Just a disclaimer quickly, as creatives, as artists, we tend to work with all shapes and sizes of humanoid character. So there might be some visual nudity in this character. So if it offends anyone, please make sure that you look away, but I cannot not show you the 3D character. So that's my disclaimer done. And with that, let's begin. So what are we going to do today? So today I'm going to attempt from this female digital human to actually create a male digital human. And Kerry, possibly if we can time this in about an hour. All right. Yeah. So we'll actually morph and design the male humanoid. We'll clothe the male humanoid, and then we'll try, if time permits, to take it into iClone, which is the animation software, and try and put some basic animation and some lip sync or whatever we can. All right.
Sure. Yep. Timing now.
Great. Awesome. So over here, as I mentioned, this is a female character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start morphing her. To begin with, we will make her a neutral being. And we will go to So here you have it. From the female character, what I did is I converted that character using sliders that are pre-created in traditional 3D softwares like Maya, ZBrush, and Blender, and we convert it into morphs. So I have converted that female humanoid body into an endogenous humanoid, and now I am adding a male body slider to him. So as we can see, all of a sudden his body conforms to that of a male. So same way, what I can do now is give him a male head. So if I zoom in to his face, so as the character stands right now, the character uses micronormals and texture maps from Texture XYZ, which is the industry standard for high definition texturing for human characters. So if I was to zoom in, you can actually see the textures on the skin, and the textures are all 4K and above, as well as the eye. If I rotate him, there is reflection and refraction happening in the irises. So what I've done is I have simply set up the human male body and the head as a starting point to begin with. And now I'm going to go in and start morphing it to the features that I want for this male character. And this software gives us the ability to mold as if we were doing sculpting. So if you can see, I am actually changing different parts of his body. My specialization lies in realistic digital humans. Of course, for your game or project, you may not require a realistic looking digital human. You might require a more cartoon looking digital human or toon looking digital human. And this software gives you the ability to create all kind of humans that you require.
So do you see, just to kind of talk about that, so you've got the ability to morph any part of the body, or certainly focusing on the facial elements, to whatever characterization that you want or feel that you're needing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if, for example, we wanted to create a character in the utmost likeness of a real person, let's say, for example, you, Kerry, we could actually take one photograph of you, and the software uses AI machine learning algorithm, and using that one photograph taken with a mobile phone, we can actually create a digital human of you, and then use your voiceover and motion capture, body motion capture, to actually have Kerry in Fortnite or whatever game that you want. All right.
Awesome. Can you put it on a weight loss program?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. That's the fun of 3D space. We can do whatever we want. So let's bulk him up a little bit. Let's say he actually works out. I'm right now working on his chest and torso muscles. And so as you can see on the top left, what my projected triangles for this 3D character is. This character right now is VFX ready, which means can be actually used for high-end film productions or high realism in games as well. So the projected triangles currently sitting are 40,546 and the selected triangles are 36,000. And the object height, which is in actual real life, I'm sitting at 5.93 feet. So just under 6 foot tall male. Let's try and work on his shoulder scale a little bit. So I started from a female humanoid character using the morph sliders and morphing individual parts of the body. I have created this male character, and that is how many minutes already, Kerry?
1 moment, sorry. Timer. 10 minutes. It's impressive in terms of 10 minutes and all the functionality that's in there.
All right. Now, again, as a disclaimer, I've been using the software and been part of the research and development for the past 8.5 years. So, of course, I know exactly where to go and what to do. So, you know, we can roll out
Make it look easy.
humans in less than a week. You know, and we are working with some top-end studios globally as well, and training industry professionals and Rangatahi in this technology. So
hey,
this
there's a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions on the chat, and I also had a question. So you always, the software always, you take like an existing sort of template human, and you always start from that?
Yes. So the character creator software comes with a default project as a starting point. So
Yeah.
you can start with that. However, if you had a default humanoid mesh that you brought in from ZBrush or 3ds Max or Maya, you can import it as an OBJ or an FBX and start working on that.
And that follows with the next question from Nathaniel is, can you now export this character into, for example, ZBrush and then continue working on him there?
Absolutely, absolutely. I
And
wonder if you can see where
process?
my mouse pointer is.
Yes.
So where I'm pointing right now, this is the Gozi pipeline. So obviously right now I'm not going to fire up ZBrush, but by pressing this button, we can send this character into ZBrush as an OBJ file, and it will directly load up into ZBrush, and you can do the sculpting. The only thing to remember is in ZBrush, as long as you don't change the topology, you can bring it back. If the topology has changed, if the actual triangle count and everything has changed, then it's not going to come back again as a clean flow. You know, you'll have to reconform it and bring it back in. But yes, short answer, yes. And you can also take it into Blender. Of course, ZBrush has been bought out by Maxon, and the industry is kind of waiting to see what Maxon is actually going to do when it comes to you know, the new pricing and everything. But everything that you can do in ZBrush, you can do it better in Blender. So open source is the way to go in the future.
Yeah. Jesse, there's related to the topology. Zed just asked any way to see the topology.
Yep, I can change it into a mesh wireframe. So here is the topology.
Awesome. Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
So if I was to
All good,
zoom in
Zed.
on his head, you can see the actual eyes are separate meshes, the eyelashes, the tongue,
Yeah.
teeth,
Mhm.
everything.
Awesome. Great
This
stuff.
is no texture.
Yeah. Great
Okay.
stuff. Folks, just if there's any other questions or Napatai, please just pop them into the chat and we'll attempt to just sort of get those picked up along the way. So Jesse, just so you're aware, about 14 minutes in so far.
Oh, awesome. Cool. I think I'm breaking my own record.
Nice.
Okay. So what I've done is I've started with the bigger morph changes and then started working on the smaller or secondary morph changes around his face, around his body structure and so forth. Next, what I'm going to do is go into a plugin for the software, which is called SkinGen. And with that, what I will do is I will start adding different normals to his body texture, with which we can make him look older or have a scar or other effects. While that is loading up at Virtual Production Dojo, we have specialist trainings in this particular pipeline and also taking it into Unreal. And we actually give away the entire software package, commercial package worth $2,000 to every participant as well. So that's some shameless advertising there, Kerry.
Jesse, in terms of, in terms of rendering, you've mentioned Unreal, but will this character function well if it's brought into a Unity project?
Absolutely. Unity, CryEngine, Lumberyard. Well, Lumberyard is a fork of CryEngine anyway. It will work in that. Any game engine that can read and handle FBX, it will work with that. So if I go on the export and I go to FBX, sorry, I have the SkinGen editor activated. Give me one quick moment and I'll show you that. So, of course, folks, for everyone joining the Game Jam, we are actually providing you with a fully rigged, clothed female digital human to use for your projects if you choose. And it is only for educational purposes, no commercial use, please. So Niva, as you asked the question, we can export it to Maya, 3ds Max, Unity, Unreal Motion Builder, Blender, Cinema 4D.
Awesome.
Okay. So it's as easy as learning how to work in Photoshop. So right now what I've activated is the SkinGen editor. And as you can see, it has layers. So I can actually switch off layers and that will affect how the character looks. And I am going to add more layers to him as well. So give me 1 second. This out of the way. Having 3 screens is still not enough. What I'm going to do is add some noise to his face texture. Followed by some face wrinkles. So as you can see, I have actually pre-created these wrinkles as a full set. So just to save time, but I can actually go and individually add different layers. So if I switch off these layers, you can see the effects of the normal that is happening. All right. So if I was to choose the wrinkle fine, I can play with the opacity, how much I want. Moderation is the key. Whenever you're designing a realistic digital human, cranking everything up makes it look unrealistic, and you fall into the uncanny valley, especially if you are designing for AR, VR, or mixed reality, because your end users have the capability to come real close and have a personal experience with the non-player characters. So it's always good to keep it on the nominal side. A little understanding of human anatomy goes a long way when you're designing humanoid characters. Next thing I'm going to add is a bit of wrinkling on the lips. My goal for this character is to try and make him ready as if he would be, working in the farm or whatever. So I've just added the lip wrinkles, if you can see it. So the lip wrinkles are being run by the normal maps that have been pre-created and pre-designed. But again, it gives you granular control for adjusting the strength of those normals as much or as little as you want. So in this case, we'll leave it at 50. I'm quite happy with that. And next thing I want to add is a bit of eye crease. Followed by some cheek wrinkles. Way too much. Reduce it slightly. Here's the normals for the cheek wrinkles. As you can see, these are all coming out of texture XYZ, so they are from photoscanned humans. Of course, you can create your own normal maps, AO maps, and so forth as well. Let's make this a little bit interactive. I love to give mana to the digital humans that I create, and to do that, I start with a bit of persona, a backstory about the character I'm going to create. So this morning, I actually thought about what I was going to create today for the live demonstration, and the idea was to create a male humanoid who is a little bit rugged, a little bit, maybe he's been working the land, and he loves to work with his hands and so forth. So to put mana into this digital human, the easiest way is to actually give him a name. So let's put it out to the audience. Let's see what name we can bring. So you can see, don't mind the nudity, folks. So you can see this is the digital human, male. What does he look like to you? Does he look like an Andrew, or
Like a Hans?
A Pekka, or, does he look like Kerry? I think, Kerry, he does look a little bit like you.
Well, I think it's further than me. What Neva says, Hans. What about Tane? Adam, Anare. What was that? He so does. Stop it, mate. Hey, just a slight question, Patai in here. So from Nathaniel, thank you, Nathaniel. Is the underlying morphing happening using a rig or deformers or blend shapes? I hope someone knows what that is. Just wondering how the process would work in bringing in a handmade base mesh.
All right, that's a really good question. So the character is fully rigged, and it is happening on a morphing basis, or equivalent in ZBrush or Blender on a sculpting level. All right. So of course, this software is not a traditional DDS 3D software, which means it does not give you the capability like ZBrush to sculpt the character. However, as I have just created this character, which is completely unique from an androgynous character, I can actually create morph sliders for the head or the body to reapply and reuse in combination with other sliders. All right. So I hope that answers your question in a nutshell.
How was that, Nathaniel? Thumbs up. Interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't see everyone when I'm
okay.
sharing
Yeah.
my screen. So.
Hey, folks, I've thrown out some options in terms of naming: Hans, Tane, Adam, or Anaro. Andrew, any other names? While you're going, I'm going to ask another question, and I'll do a time check as well, if you like, JC. Yep. Sam Ramler is keen to understand how this manages different ethnicities and nuances around different features. Are there a variety of base bodies templates to start with? I think that the morphing allows you to achieve that, and I'm assuming you then save that as a template. Cool. Thoughts, Jason?
Absolutely. Brilliant question, Sam. And as you would have seen my work spamming LinkedIn, I actually specialize in ethnic digital human creation, and I'm one of very few globally who's working in that particular field. So most 3D characters in games and movies we see are Caucasian males, right? And we want to have a better representation for ethnic communities, Pan-Asian, Maori, Pacifica, Chinese, and so forth. So this, because it is a flat character which has a texture map applied to it, so without the texture map, it is just a base mesh, we can actually change the color, skin color, to the pigment level, and which I'm going to do right now. So what I'm applying here, I hope you can actually see my icon on the screen. It says a face decal. So I have actually created and preserved some skin texture types or templates that I can use as starting point for different skin ethnicity skins. All right, so I'm going to add a slightly darker one. And obviously I'm applying only to the face. So right there, with applying one texture that has been modified, I hope you can see the difference it makes to the skin coloration, and it goes to the micro normals and subsurface scattering level and to the pigmentation level. So if I was to add something not as extreme, slightly softer, if I wanted to now make him slightly dark-skinned, can you see the difference happening in his face color? Of course,
Like
if I take him all the way down.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, what was that, Nima?
It just looked like he's been in the sun too long.
Yep. I mean, you can do whatever you want, if you wanted to make him like the blue man, you can make him. That's the fun of creativity, right? So let's make him into that shade for his face, and let's fix his eyebrow texture color as well. Back into the skin mode. Of course, a darker skinned person does not have a lot of red pigmentation that shows up. Again, like I said, a bit of understanding of human anatomy and how the body skin works, we can do quite a lot. So let's go to the skin base and into the lip colors. and reduce the saturation a little bit.
JC, 28, 29 minutes. You're about halfway.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I'm quite happy with this skin shade. Sam, I hope I managed to answer your question. I know it requires a much detailed answer, but in the context.
JC, the follow on from Sam. Sam, do you want to ask or comment on that?
Yeah, sure. I'll just, sorry, apologies for any noise here, but I guess for me, I just think, you know, there's a lot of templates we find in these sort of programs that do start with a very European base. And I think, you know, ethnicity goes beyond just color. So just wondering like what sort of templates are available, or do you have to kind of create your own? I noticed the base template you started with was, you know, it was a certain style. So just wondering if that's something that is already there, or if it's something that people have to create.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of the softwares do come with a standard Caucasian template, but what I have done is I've created different starter templates for different ethnicities. I am actually part of a PhD research program at Massey University with the Health Ministry, in which we actually had to create different ethnicity of digital humans as a VR project. And one of them being Maori, male, female, Korean, Chinese, Indian, and so forth. And we created our own morphs and default templates. So in short, the softwares do come with a Caucasian template, unfortunately, Sam, but it's not hard, as you've just noticed. It's taken me, what, about 15, 20 minutes to quickly, you know. So if I wanted to make him look more, again, this is not generalizing, you know, but if I wanted to make him look more like a Pacifica person, what would I do? I would have to give him, you know, stronger cheekbones, wider nose, not such a slender nose, you know, the lips and all. So it's about going and morphing him out.
Cool, thank you. I've been watching a lot of, just really interested in just 3D creation, and in fact goes back beyond just 3D characters, but real, you know, for live action as well, and lighting around darker skin, and you know, whenever they kind of talk about even lighting setups, there's a generalized template, and it always starts with the lighter skin. So I think it's just interesting, and something that, you know, would be great to see over time, that the templates changed. And, you know, the selfie view was different long term. Yeah.
That, I think there's a great opportunity in there around that, Sam, and JC obviously specializing in that. Bang on. Awesome. So just, thank you. Okay, so moving on. I think that's it, JC. No other questions that I can see, unless I've missed anything. So rock on.
All right. So answering Sam's question, Sam, of course, you know, happy to have a chat separate to this workshop. That's what I specialize in virtual production and, you know, digital humans. So happy to talk more about it. But while you were just mentioning that, what I've done is I've actually gone and changed the character even furthermore by, you know, just some minor changes to his nose, his mouth area, his chin area, and all of a sudden, he's a totally different digital human. So this now I could create into a body morph and save as a starting template. All right.
Sam made a comment looking more anaro now. So yeah.
Okay. So of course, as I was showcasing, you know, I just changed the color of his head. His body is still in that shade. So please excuse that for the time being, but I hope it demonstrates for the purposes. So let's try and put him into some clothes. I think some cargo pants would be good for him.
So Zed says it reminds him of the guy from The Mummy.
Oh, all right. There you go. Fantastic. Yeah. So again, clothes, you can, if you are good in creating the clothing, try to use Marvelous Designer instead of Maya or ZBrush as much as you can do that. If you use Marvelous Designer, you can bring the fabric in with the proper conforming and body and shape for different clothing textures. They come in as OBJ files, and then you simply conform it to the actual body. And if I was to change the body shape, let's try and make him fat, the clothing will actually conform
Awesome.
with the body size. So thin, fat, I'm going from one extreme to the other, just as an example here. All right, that's him. Let's put some, what do we have here? We'll put a V-scrub t-shirt on him. I think it's looking all right with the t-shirt. Or maybe not. Oops.
While you're doing that, JC, Zed popped on a question: how much procedural work can you do to any of the textures?
Quite a bit. You can change the textures. You can take it into Substance Painter. So again, we have a complete pipeline into Substance Painter. And you can also use Quixel Mixer now. So obviously from Quixel, you know, as long as your end destination is Unreal, it's free, it's open source. So, you know, use that. Unity is great. Unreal is changing the world. It is literally Unreal. So
cool. Does that answer your question, Zed?
I'm actually going to give him a farmer shirt. I think that looks better on him with cargo pants. And let's give him some hair. Okay, let's have a look. Again, designing hair is a very specialized area. You know, you can use Maya XGen. You can design the hair cards in Blender. You can obviously use ZBrush, and you can also use Unreal Engine hair grooms as well, depending on the end purpose, you know, and if this character was actually going to be a close-up character for a particular framing, then I want as much details as possible. But if the character was a background support character, you know, maybe 5 to 10 feet away, at that distance, I don't need to put too much details into the character then. So I've just added some hair to him. I think I might want to change the hair coloring. Okay, let's go. So again, I'll bring the panel over so you can see. So here is the actual textures of this hair mesh. I'll show you the hair mesh as well in wireframe. That's the actual hair cards. That's smooth. So it has a scalp and it has the actual strands. And it is using a digital human hair shader, which gives us the ability to actually start going and changing different parameters. So strand color, want to make him a little bit darker. If you've used Photoshop, which I believe most people would have if they're creatives or something equivalent, you understand the blend mode channels. So again, it comes with the same. We can multiply it, we can overlay, use soft light. I'm going to go with multiply here. I'm going to invert the root colors a little bit give it a little bit of a highlight.
Just while you're doing that, JC, Zed, on the procedural work, Zed was saying, I was thinking about the texture nodes in Blender and Maya. I guess if you export this is just a model with a baked textures.
No, answer
No.
is no. Real Illusion is a gold partner with the Open Blender program and has a full pipeline that can, same as Gozi or Substance Painter, where you can take this character straight into Blender and it will auto apply all the textures the way you're looking at it now. And it gives you full granular control to change inside Blender as well. So obviously, if you wanted to bake it, then yeah, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Zed, any other commentary from you? Just pop it in. Back to you, JC.
Thank you.
40 minutes, by the way.
Yep. I'm going to add some eyebrows. This is something a lot of people struggle with, is eyebrows. What do we do to actually get eyebrows? Otherwise, it's painted on. And that tends to make or break your digital human. Okay, let's go and change this coloring. Plus eyebrows. And I want to give him slightly darker color for his eyebrows. Textures.
Keep the questions rolling in, folks. So if there's any others, throw them in the chat. Thank you.
Right, and I'm going to give him a bit of beard and stubble as well. The facial hair. We can actually see the facial hair. Again, these are hair cards. They are not painted on. Right. And let's give him a bit of mustache.
Just another question about Blender from Rainer. To
Yep.
clarify, when you export the model and work on it in Blender,
Yep.
do the Node 3 materials have all the same sliders as in the character creator?
The sliders are not converted to Blender, unfortunately. You can use the sculpting mode inside Blender to make changes to the actual mesh, but the morph sliders are unique to character creator only.
Cool, got it.
Cool. I'm liking what he looks like. And just one thing, his chest color is bugging me, so I'm going to go and darken that a little bit.
You might need some hair on that chest too, Jesse.
Pardon?
You might need some hair on that chest.
Yeah, there's a lot we can do. Body.
Just a comment from Fiona. Thanks for this demo learning session. JC, love learning through the walkthroughs. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do this.
So it's the hairy chest version.
Yep. I'm applying the template, which is full body hair male for heavy body hair. Maybe his head color, we can reduce it a little bit. I had gone a little bit too much of an extreme there. And match it out. And see what we got.
A great question from Nathaniel again. Is there an option to reduce the poly count? So if you wanted to bring it into a low poly, maybe not a completely low poly, but a lower poly project, could you do that?
Yep. This software, Real Illusion Character Creator and iClone, has a full commercial pipeline license of InstaLOD. If you have ever used InstaLOD, that really can help you reduce the poly count and the face counts. You know, you can obviously bake textures. We strongly suggest not to bake textures unless you're going to only have it as a game base. So in short, yes, poly reduction for variable. If you want to do poly reduction for the character mesh, you can convert it into a game base. Again, the moment you're making it into a game base, you're baking the textures in. Depending on your use case scenario, we strongly suggest using multi-material. Most people do the mistake out of Maya or 3ds Max. They do single material, which means all the UVs are baked in. All right, and that really then you don't have any options of making changes inside your game engine. So you want to keep multi-material so that you can change certain aspects of the design. So
just sitting at 46 minutes, and I'd just like to acknowledge everyone's at different levels and in this Kōrero or Hui, and so if you're hearing terms that you're not familiar with, that's okay. It's kind of now you become familiar with them, and there's people that you're going to learn off from this as well. So that's what it's all about, learning. Kia ora.
Absolutely. Just giving him some shoes. Let's try and calculate the collisions. So we can calculate the collisions of how the clothing sits. We can auto hide the mesh of the body that is not showing to make it lightweight as well. As we can see with the boots, I still have mesh breakage. How can I fix it? Go into the actual trousers. I'm going to edit the mesh, and I have some control for minor sculpting, but not as much as ZBrush or Blender would allow, just so you're aware. So this is for corrections.
Nathaniel's just asked the cloth is simulated question.
Yes, it has a weight blend map as well. And of course, you can create your own blend maps as well. So inside Unreal or Unity, you know, actual cloth physics can be applied. The good thing about Unity and Unreal, both the softwares and CryEngine offer you the ability to weight paint for hair and clothing. So if you were using a particular mesh that did not have weight blend maps, you can actually do it inside the engine as well. But for that, you will need multi-channel texturing, not baked.
He's just come back and said, wow, that's cool. Thanks, Nathaniel, and thanks, JC.
All right. So one last thing, I might want to give him a safety vest or not. Let's see what it will look like. Maybe not. I actually like the farmer shirt. Nah, I don't like that. Cool. Here you are. Done. Time. What are we sitting on, Kerry?
49 minutes, under an hour. Well done. Great job.
5 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to save him out into my desktop. And what was the name we came up with?
Anaru?
Sorry, what was that?
I think did we settle on Anaru?
How do you spell that?
Anarau.
Anarau?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is there was a question about rendering. So of course, we have iRay render inside Character Creator as well as an add-on that we can bring in. So over here, you can see this is full iRay rendering, and this is the speed it is rendering in. My system is not running a 3090, just if anyone had a question around it. I'm running 32 gigs RAM and a 2060 Ti system. And this is an iRay render on 182/957 projected triangle mesh with full rigging and full 52 face blend morphs as well. So here is the render. So what I'm going to do next is just try to quickly pose him and see how he might look in a different pose. Okay, and wonderful. So somebody had a question around the rigging as well, or maybe I misunderstood it, but here's your full humanoid rig, which is compatible with Maya, with Blender, 3ds Max, and so forth. Just to show the facial blend shapes. So he has his teeth. We can make him look angry, happy, whatever we want. Maybe let's make him happy.
Look, on behalf of us all, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out. Certainly very illuminating for me. And one of the things that I was really struck by was, well, two things actually. The first one was, I guess, the ethnocentric elements of the industry as it stands at the moment, and Tautoko and support, and Awhi, your positioning around that, and I loved the opportunity to create a whakapapa or origin story from your character, and I think that's the best place to start, right? So starting with ko waiahau, who is this character, or who am I represented in this character, and starting from that place and recognizing it. So look, I'd love to thank you, and I'll finally round out with a karakia. Aroha mai, I'm on my reo journey, so hopefully I'll get this one right. Kia tau te rangi mari e, o te rangi e tu ehu ne, o papatuanuku e tā koto ne, o te taiao e awhi ne, ki runga i a tātou tihe mauri ora. So what that means is let peace settle amongst all of us, from the sky father above and the earth mother below, and the environment looking after us, which I think is highly appropriate for this kaupapa. So let there be life. Mauri ora. Kia ora, everyone.